Hello everyone and welcome to my channel. In this video I'll show you how I usually level up when I make a new character in last Epoch. And I'll show you relevant gameplay while doing it, so you see if you fancy anything. We'll talk about all classes here by the way, but I don't think this is the best way of doing it. It's just how I choose to do it. Well, for some classes I do believe this is the best way, but anyway, let's get into it. Before that, know that you can easily navigate this video to whatever class you want. I thought it's best if I make one video instead of 5. I only play softcore by the way, so don't try this in hardcore. And drop a like and even a sub at the end if you liked it or found it useful. This is the warrior / paladin of last Epoch. Don't trust tier lists on build websites. Some of them place the character I'm about to show you last in the tier list. Well, why I say they are all wrong? It's simple, just use hammer throw. Slap as much throw damage and attack speed on your stuff as you can, and you just trivialize early game. This is the most no-brain leveling setup I can possibly recommend, followed closely by a Necromancer we touch upon later. For this to work, you need rings with -3 throwing attack mana cost. These rings cut the 12 cost of the skill in half, making it somewhat spammable. I can still run out of mana at times, but the build feels good if you have some mana regen. I have 8 mana regen per second, making it so I have to wait less than a second if I go out of mana for some reason to cast this again. So the only skill you need is hammer throw. Lunge helps you closing the gaps, but that's pretty much it. I don't recommend this as your first character though, because it needs those rings and throwing damage on a lot of items to scale it properly. I didn't even skill lunge, but you can do it. The passive tree is only relevant for me as I want to make a VoidKnight out of this character, but some nodes still synergize with hammer throw. The build is pretty cool, you can clear screens of mobs with ease, even elites. From my experience, the bosses too, but you need to keep your gear upgraded for that. This is why I said I don't recommend it as the first character, as you need specific rares and upgrade shards. And this is it. I know this build can make it to the end game, as I showed in my last Epoch review video, my level 90 something character clearing hard monoliths. Beastmaster. I never got to play one of these at high levels, but so far so good. The wolves do decent damage and give you frenzy and 25% more melee damage when they howl. This is not a build like the previous one, meaning you kinda need to run around from pack to pack, and it gets annoying when dealing with ranged enemies. You have some tools that help alleviate that to some extent, and we will talk about this a bit later, but this will be an issue if you are the type of player that wants to spam a button and clear a screen. And being a melee character, you need to dodge all sorts of dangerous attacks. I could face tank almost everything up to level 46, but I suppose it will change at some point, as I've seen some scary spikes already in my hit points. Summon Wolf skill is great at granting you extra DPS and speed. Swipe is your bread and butter with this. I strongly recommend you put some more points into Hungarian reach, because you want to reach further with the skill. The range is pretty small to begin with, so you won't see much improvement, but it's still better. Warcry is a very cool skill with this and has 2 key nodes, Apprehend and Berserker. I choose to go to the second one first because I didn't realize in time that knockback is that annoying. But thinking about it, you can go either way. Apprehend pulls instead of knockback enemies, making using this skill finally feel great. So you can go for Apprehend first if you want. And it's pretty much it for the Warcry. From this point you can max out some of the nodes you like or put some into Deep Roar, making it pull enemies from a larger area, etc. Fury Leap is the skill used for moving around, but also to stomp on groups of enemies. It can be made so it pulls enemies when you land, but from what I saw the range is abysmal, so don't get high hopes for it. I'll not spend time talking about the passive trees because it's irrelevant how you get to that setup. It's not like with skills where the order you put your points matters. So 35 points into the Primalist tree and 24 into Beastmaster, but If you for some reason stick with this build and not pivot out of it at some point, dump almost all points into this tree, and of course can put a few points into Shaman or Druid if you want. As for the gear, you want the big axe and as much melee and physical damage, strength, armor and health as you can find. These being leveling builds are using whatever gear you have available. What I can say is this is considerably harder to play than the previous character, but the next one will be the easiest of them all. A walk in the park. The one, the only, Necromancer. I'm a sucker for Necromancers, I try them in every game. This build is cool, I'd put it on top of a list, but as I stated, I'm a bit biased when it comes to these characters. This to me looks like a decent first character on a server. I made it my first online character since the launch and I had no issues so far, but my gear is bad for this reason. The gameplay with it is simple. Summon the permanent minions, your skeletons, skeleton mages and the golem, and then summon wraiths and or volatile zombies as the mana permits. At level 50, when I'll start speccing into volatile zombies, maybe I'll find them more useful, but for now I'm using wraiths because it seems I kill stuff faster with them. I need to watch that mana though, and I think it will be cool if I slap some mana regen on my items. Summon Skeleton is the main skill for a while. This will be your damage. For that reason we go and expand the number of skellies you can summon as fast as possible. And then we eliminate skeleton warriors as they become redundant when we get the bone golem into the mix. Keep an eye on these guys as they will require resummoning, especially at the beginning when you run around with some skeletal warriors. Summon Bone Golem is the second main minion you unlock by spending points into Acolyte passive tree. This beefy guy holds aggro. For this point on is up to you. I think I'll pick twin golems to have another golem and perhaps I'll try to spec my minions into cold damage or something, I don't know. Summon Skeletal Mage becomes available after you choose Necromancer. They do good AoE damage and don't die too often. All in all, it's a good minion. Summon Wraith is the last skill I'll talk about here. With this build I want to have as many bodies on the battlefield as I can, so it's a no-brainer to use Wraiths. As their life decays very quick, I went for everything that buffs their HP and decreases the life decay. And I even got some life leech on them. But this is pretty much it with the skills. I didn't think about volatile zombies yet, and I have no idea if I can incorporate them into my build anyway, because of mana issues, so I might opt for some curse instead of them. I don't know yet. My passive trees are not final, but it gives you an idea of what I want with them. More survivability and more damage. Easy. I got lucky with the items as I got Reach of the Grave as my first legendary, and soon after I got an Arboreal Circuit, making my leveling journey easier. If not for those items, I'd go for minion damage, life, armor, and as I said, some mana and mana regen, and plus resistances of course. But the thing with this is you can easily wing it. The build seems a lot more relaxed compared with the other two I mentioned already. So gear up with whatever you find really and run around in the back summoning your wraiths and attack moving with your minions. This is a great feature of this game, by the way. You can command your minions. If a boss is dropping acid on the floor, you can get them out of it and so on. The next class we are going to talk about is Mage. This is just one of the many ways you can level up a mage. I choose these skills because they tie with the ones I plan to use in the endgame. But I've leveled mages before with Fireball, Elemental Nova, Mana Strike and so on. Glacier is doing a ton of damage, but you need to get used to its delayed explosions and using mana recovery skills. This will be short because it's straightforward. I stopped at level 32, but you should be close to be able to transition to your desired build by this point. If not, I'm sure you can figure something out for the next few levels. As I said, Glacier is already hitting like a truck. Just need to get used to positioning and timing and you should be fine. And this is it for Glacier. Again, you need to alternate between spamming it on bosses and using your mana regen skill. The killing speed is okay, not great but not the worst. There is this bug where the Glacier breaks the animations in the game. It works consistently against mobs and bosses alike. After you freeze them, they play no animations and just slide towards you and rotate to face your character. But that's it. If it's a boss and you know its patterns, you can still evade its attacks somehow. But it's annoying and the dead corpses are stuck in place. Yes, it means they died in a frozen state. It makes sense, but it's annoying. Sometimes the brain needs a second to figure who's dead and who's bugged. Anyway, other than this, the gear to get is straightforward at this point. Int, spell damage, crit, some mana, and as much mana regen as you can, because this skill is hungry. You'll go no matter what. And the passive, just go with whatever you want to have in your final build, or choose the following. I feel you can't go wrong with the first 20 from the mage tree. Then pick whatever you want from the final mastery build you want. What I'm trying to say is follow your desired build. In a way, I'm sure it will buff Glacier's damage. If not, try to level with some other skill. And finally we got the Rogue. If you want to build a Falconer, a decent build, you will use Umbral Blades and Falconry to clear stuff, with Shift as a traversal skill. I could use some filler skill to use in the downtime, but I didn't care that much about it. Again, you want as much throwing damage as possible on gear. Mana is not important with this, as I didn't run out with this character, but still, keep an eye on it. Other than that, dagger and a shield for some defenses and you're good to go. Umbral Blades feel a bit clunky to use at first, but they are good. Would work better if I could control my character with WASD and cast the spell with a different button. Having this tied with the mouse as well as the direction of the travel makes it clunky. So weird at first, I think this will turn out great. I already can see great damage numbers. Falconer is so cool, great for bosses and elites and even the regular trash. It also lasts for a while. It revolves around Falconer's mark. When your Falcon hits an enemy, it marks them. Then you consume those marks and get buffed for a short duration. Pretty neat synergy. Aerial Assault is also great because you can make it so when you leap towards the target and the Falcon dives to catch you, it throws some Umbral Blades. It's a bit unclear to me if these Umbral Blades are affected by both Plum Daggers and Lethal Darkness, but after I choose Twilight Strike, my Aerial Assault became godly. This is the point where it clicked for me. Easy AoE and easy single target damage. After that I focused on the lower part of the tree for some neat healing, since I spammed the spell on cooldown if there are enemies nearby. Dive Bomb is the last skill I choose. I reduce the delay of my Falcon before it dives to the point it feels instant. Then invested in all sorts of nodes that reduced cooldown, increase damage, shred armor, add bleeds and so on. Great reliable skill, but visually underwhelming in my opinion. I would have liked more camera shake and some powerful sound on impact, as well as the particle's life to last a lot longer. And this is it, a good way to level each class. But as I said, it all depends what mastery you want to go for, and of course try to find some basic skills that synergize nicely into what you want your endgame build to be. It can be done with any skill though. Just want to realize you need to respect your passives and skills when you transition, and in some cases change gear. So in closing, I'd rate Necromancer as number 1. Not because it's the best or anything, but it's the easiest build to play, gear and advance. The Hammer Throw Sentinel is second, but only because I think it doesn't feel as good if it's your first character. You can still find plenty of plus throw damage items, but they are a pain to upgrade at first. The Falconer is the third because it feels rather clunky at first, at least with my choice of talents and skills. Umbral Blades feel weird up to a point, but it might be alleviated with investing early into explosive blades, so at least you don't need to click to return the blades. Anyway, around level 45 or so, this build becomes insane and very easy to play. I feel pretty invincible zooming around, killing everything in sight. But this being a leveling video, I have to rank this lower. Beastmaster feels slower than I would have hoped, but I don't have any experience with this. I haven't played one in the endgame yet. The buffs feel too short, and it's always frustrating to me to try to maintain 1 or 2 second buff. Feels like a good build for people who want to be on their toes all the time and bad for people who want a one button wonder. Also the skills seem like they don't synergize up to a point where it kinda clicks. So you might want to make Warcry pull instead of knockback faster than I did. Mage felt the worst. Even if Glacier is like a truck and has no cooldown, the prohibitive mana cost prevents spamming. And the delayed damage makes it so you need to time the skill so it lands the big explosion where and when you want. Anyway, none of the builds feel slower overall, because if one was fast at the beginning like Necro and Hammer Throw, they fell off at some point when Falconer picked up some insane speed. So the conclusion is, I think you can level with almost any skill you want. Thank you for watching, give this video some love, and until next time, take care and see ya.